Hey, what is up, everybody? Good morning, or good evening, good night, good afternoon, wherever you are. 240p gang squad bad bit rate boys, low quality mafia. You know, low quality is the movement. We got to keep this thing going. Still spreading. It's beautiful. It's also a beautiful day outside. You know, get some of them sunbeams, get some of that sunshine, that life energy. It's a beautiful day. For me, it's a Thursday. Not Thursday, Wednesday. For you, it might be, depending on where you are in the world, you might be day forward, a little back, whatever. So today I want to talk about the original Adam and Eve story, right? But not the Adam and Eve story like you're thinking of, like not the one in Judaism, Christianity, Islam, not that one. I'm talking about the banned classified book by the CIA for the last 25, longer than 25 years at this point. So it's called the original Adam and Eve story. Or it's just called the Adam and Eve story. You can actually go to the CIA.gov website, I guess their archives or whatever, and you can go read the part of this book. Not the whole thing. There are actually still pages that are classified to this day. They are still classified to this day. There also is actually a second volume, a second book, and a third book. But you can only find pages of the second book, even less. They're very hard to find if you can. Can't find many of them. And last time I checked, the third book you can't even find or read. Period. But ask CIA about that. Maybe they released it by this point. But anyway, so the first one, the Adam and Eve story, written by this guy, it explores that original flood, right, and various evidence around the world of a flood even happening. Because as we know, in multiple cultures worldwide, they all talk about there was some kind of flood, right? So what this dude postulates is that it was more of like a mud flood. Now I'll explain. Let me explain. So, for example, in a Sumerian/Akkadian mythology, they have this thing called the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is a story that predates the Noah story by quite a while. And when they mention, them coming back up out of the ship and being like, oh my God, everything's flooded, they don't talk about the way like the Bible one does, where it kind of persuades you in the direction of, it sounds more like it's just, everything's an ocean now. It's not really how they paint it in the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? How they paint the picture is, it's all like, they talk about, it's almost like a big marsh and a big swamp, because you got, the waves would take out mountains, they would uproot all the trees, they would take out forests, which, way back in the day, we're not really burning through a forest, you know what I mean? Forests were probably there were probably multiple Amazon rainforest kind of things, or big Siberian forest that stretches for thousands of miles worldwide. There was probably, like mega forests, right? So imagine all that getting swept up in dirt and built up. Everything's going to be kind of marshy, like muddy. So the idea of like a mud flood concept would be more accurate, right? A better model, because it would make more sense. And so what this guy does is he actually goes around the world citing multiple different evidence points for this theory and for how it actually happened. A scientific basis for the flood and what would cause it, an actual cause. Because, the current theory is, well, maybe an asteroid hit an ocean and then, massive flood. But that doesn't, they haven't really proven that. They just say, well, maybe that's what happened, because we don't really know. All we know is that, there was an ice age, it melted, and there was a flood. But we don't really know the correlation. Because, an ice age melting wouldn't be rapid, it wouldn't flash melt. But anyway, so it's more like a mud flood concept, right? And so the first thing he cites is, well, for one thing, worldwide, a lot of cultures, Aboriginal cultures, ancient cultures, they have things that sound like pole shifts going on. Like, for example, like the Mayan calendar or whatever, talk about a pole shift. There are multiple ancient cultures that have this pole shift idea, which, we know of today as the pole shifting, the north and south, the magnetic pole shifting, the thing that, block us from solar winds. And then them shifting doesn't mean we'd be susceptible, it just means they'd be at different points on the planet. Different orientations, if you will. So what he said was, he found these mass graves of animals, right? And he was like, what the, there's not people doing this, they're for the one main example he used were mammoths, because for example, there's this old idea of mammoths dying in tar pits, But a lot of these kinds of places, not all of them, there's still a bunch of things dying in tar pits for sure. But these mammoth mass graves, he was like, why and so like him and like team experts, whatever, investigated these the bones and the mammoths and the remains, and what they found was really weird. You know what I mean? For one thing, they found like their knees buckled, their knees messed up, like their knees broke, as if something just took them out. And the same thing with like their heads and certain bones of their bodies. It seemed like something just wham, you know what I mean? And the other thing was based on their bone marrow and certain other things that science can use to, figure out how a thing died or what the conditions were like when it died. It was almost like they were flash frozen. It's almost like they were flash frozen. Now, you might be asking where I'm going with this, and I'll get there. Actually, in like 30 seconds. So it seems like they were flash frozen. Wow, how would they be flash frozen? And like it seems like multiple parts of their body are impacted, fractured, and it seems like their knees buckled. They gave out, and you're like, what happened? Like, what's going on here? Well, this is where the pole shift kind of thing comes in, because what would happen if mind you, it's not like over what we think would happen, it'd be like a perfect north-south flip. It's a little different. Or unless an asteroid did hit the Earth, causing, for example, like, because they say how the moon and stuff was created, something must have hit the Earth or something must have burned off. Well, whatever caused the Earth to tilt, because they still say that was unnatural. Maybe it was the comet that killed all the dinosaurs. I don't know, whatever. So, if it's something like that. But, like, something that had to hit us hard enough for the Earth to gain a tilt, and be out of whack as opposed to normal. Because not every planet has like a kind of tilting that we have. Our tilt is not... It's not normal. It wasn't supposed to, be like that. So that's just an idea. But anyway, so if the magnetic poles shifted, and not like cleanly, like I'd say instead of going like completely around, it would just go like halfway, and it would just go like this. You know what I mean? It would just go like this. That little flip, for one thing, that would cause all the oceans to, instead of like, all the currents, all the magnetic kind of things and electromagnetic things that hold our world together would mess up and go a different way. So like, say like you have that, like in like a flash of a second, you have all that water just, going left or going right. That's knocking stuff out. And on top of that, the other thing would happen is air pressure, wind pressure, because you got to think magnetism and electromagnetism hold together a lot more than we think, including our atmosphere. So, in order for all this to make sense, what would happen is when the pole shift, you would have this massive air change, this pressure change. So what happens when you take hot or cold and you move it out of a certain place or you put it in a place? The air moves. And when you move air, what happens if you're playing with smoke? You move the air, other air has to come in to replace its space. It's almost like we're in like the opposite of a vacuum, you know what I mean? We're in a space where we're contained in a big space of air. So when you move some of it, other of it has to replace it. So if you do this magnetic pole shift, right, you'll have this crazy wind that would also come on. And with wind that strong and powerful, it would explain some of the fracturing along with, a big tidal wave hitting you. And on top of that, you would get this flash freezing effect due to extreme wind chill. If you have, wind air rushing that fast, you would get wind chill, and you would get wind chill at such an insane number rate that you would most likely get flash frozen. So that is what he postulates for this theory, and it's in this thing called the Adam and Eve story. Like I said, it's on the CIA website. You can go look it up. It's declassified. Oh, parts of it are declassified. It's some incredible stuff, man. It's crazy. It's absolutely bananas. Bananas. And there's also this thing like around the world, like for example, in southern Mexico, there's this one ancient city you can look up right now. It starts with a T, and I know that's not very helpful, but I just remember it's in southern Mexico, so you can use that to try to locate it. Graham Hancock talks about it, if you know who that guy is. And it doesn't matter about his theories, I'm not going to explain those, but I'm going to talk about this is a real location that you could, like at some point, I'm going to fly there and check the stuff out. You can too. You can literally fly there. You can buy a ticket to South America or Central America and go there, right? And they have like a written record of natural disasters and this city civilization for 10,000 years. They have a record of, they talk about a flood at some point. They talk about multiple things. In ancient Egypt, they have the same thing. They have like an obelisk almost And it's similar to, I guess you'd call it like, similar to like the Georgia Guidestones, or like the all those Sumerian things like the Code of Hammurabi that are just etched in stone, or like Joachim and Boaz that they say King Solomon made, one that could survive underwater, one that could survive the elements on land. Like just like something that's like a written in stone record, like literally written in stone record. And this like obelisk record type thing, it talks about natural disasters throughout history. And one of the things it kind of mentions is this kind of flood, and they also say it was more like, they describe it as like a mud flood kind of thing, not like a, they talk about seeing trees and all kinds of whatnot. They see all kinds of gunk and stuff in the water. Like, it's not like you're in the middle of an ocean, you know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting how, and also there are a couple of places around the world you can find this. So it's kind of interesting that, this whole mud flood idea isn't even very remote. I used to think it was just this one book, and I was like, that's a crazy theory. But, here and there are also other notions of this, right? And so why did the CIA classify it? Why can't you still find the full versions to this day? What's missing? Why is it missing? That's a very interesting theory on top of that, just because of the fact that there is some, like, even if it's anecdotal evidence, it's not anecdotal evidence, but even if there's, it's just one dude with some evidence in a book, classified it. And on top of that, there's more classified. Why? That makes you think. That means we have to consider it. So it's a very interesting theory. I recommend you guys go to the CIA website and check this stuff out for yourself. That's it for today. 240p gang, I'm out. Much love to y'all. Have a wonderful, blessed day. Bless up. Tell someone something nice today. Spread that love.